Live from the studio at Production World, it's the 8th annual Alberta Motorcycle Safety Society Think Bike campaign launch. Please welcome your host, the president of AMSS, Liane Langlois.
Welcome, everybody. This is a great time to remind everyone that we, the riders, are back on the roads and ask everyone, and I mean everyone, 2 wheels all the way to 18 to share the road so we get home safely. Traffic safety starts with each individual road user, and that's why this year we're running the theme, Safety Comes in All Shapes and Sizes. More on that a little later. We have some exciting things to share with you today, including the topics from our panel, our campaign for this year, all about For the Love of Motorcycles, and how you can have a chance of winning up to $10,000. Yes, that's right, our 50-50 is back up tomorrow. Season 3 of our Think Bike podcast kicked off April 19th, produced at Road 55 Studio with our longtime friend Bryn Griffiths. It's available on most podcast platforms, including Apple, Google, Prime, Spotify, and so many more. We have a new segment on the podcast this year called Mailbag. Sometimes we get questions that don't quite fill a full episode, and sometimes they do. We want to make sure we get as much credible information out there as possible, so we are here to answer the little questions too. You can send us your questions through our website or socials, and we will do our best to answer as quickly as possible. Find Think Bike where you get your podcasts, subscribe or follow, tune in and listen to all the amazing guests that we bring on to talk about important topics regarding motorcycle safety. Speaking of guests on our podcast, almost all of our panelists today have either participated directly or their company has in the past or upcoming podcast episodes. They're also all corporate members of the AMSS. So we would like to welcome Patti Bligh, owner of Klondike Insurance, Steve Grover, owner of Grover Law, Greg Hawthorn, sales at Riverside Honda and Skidoo in St. Albert, Lanchi Dech, owner of Too Cool Motorcycle School in Calgary, Chris Bulger, owner of T&T Motorcycling in Edmonton, and John Bullee, the manager of Stratotech Park, which is just outside of Edmonton. So we're going to first start with our topic, or our statistics from last year. We had another not so great season. We had another 22 people lose their lives this year. 16 men and 6 women lost their lives. The age demographic over the last 3 years in COVID has seemed to have gone from the younger at the start of the pandemic to the older towards the end. Not quite sure why that happened, but at the end of the day, our most concerning age group last year was in that 50 to 70 year range. Now, people often ask us, who's the bigger problem on the roads? Is it sport bikes or cruisers? You want to take a guess, Greg?
I think just based on numbers alone, there's a lot of cruisers out there, so.
Well, most of the times people want to blame the fast bikes. And quite frankly, on the next slide, you'll see that the motorcycle type is actually more evenly split. It has been throughout the year. Now on this one, we see more cruisers than sport bikes, and there was a few of unknown that we didn't know about. However, with that, the last 3 years total, it's been very even. So we do have a concern on both sides. Now on to the next slide shows us what has been a trend over through COVID, which is rural versus urban. Rural means out in the Alberta secondary highways. Chris, maybe you can help explain why we've seen such a drastic increase on rural fatalities versus in the city.
Well, it's probably just based on a lot of people don't like riding in the city. More people out on the road, more groups go out on the road. And of course, less police, people get on the throttle too much speed, more animals, that kind of stuff.
Which then would bring us to what's the multi versus single vehicle collision statistics. Because you're right, I don't personally like to ride in the city, but I also ride alone a lot. And a lot of the times we have multi-vehicle versus single vehicle. And a lot of the times people think if it's a multi-vehicle, it has to be the motorcycle. So we've dug in a little bit more deeply on this. Multi-vehicle versus single vehicle collisions on this slide, it shows you that the majority are multi-vehicle collisions, which means more than just the motorcycle involved. So we had 33% last year that were. However, with that said, out of all of those multi-vehicle collisions, the majority of those as well were deemed rider error. So Lanchi, I'm going to come to you. Why do you think that the majority of the collisions lately have been rider error versus driver error? Do you think it's a pandemic-related thing and we're still coming out of that?
I feel that it is. What I've noticed is there's a lot of individuals who, because they don't want to wait for training, or they feel that they could just figure it out through videos or just friends showing them how. They don't have the proper skills to deal with emergency situations. I think that's one of the big ones, because during the pandemic, it caused a lot of training in terms of the capacity that schools could take in, and then the delays and stuff. And so people just went out and they just rode without the training.
I think you're pretty bang on with that, because on the next slide, we'll see some suspected or alleged causes for those collisions. So as I was mentioning, 62% of the collisions were deemed rider error versus 38% of the driver error. And of those suspected or alleged causes of these collisions, we see a lot of lost control, rear-ended vehicles, people following too closely, head-on collision. Of course, a drunk driver is always a problem on the road, as well as distracted driving. And that's where we're asking vehicle drivers to maybe be a little bit better. But where we come with some rider things and lessons learned in this last year is be safe when you're passing vehicles. Don't be excessively speeding. Watch for the left-turning vehicles, and of course the wildlife that Chris had mentioned before. So basically, our message to everybody is just, let's be a little bit better. Over the last 3 years, we've had a trend that has not been so great. On the next slide, I will line that all out for you. We tracked 63 losses of life over the last 3 years. If I can get it moved to the next slide, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. We had 66.6% were deemed rider error over the last 3 years and 33.3% driver. The 27 collisions were single rider, 33 were multi-vehicle, 39 in rural, 20 in urban. The age group, as I mentioned earlier, has been rising in concerns. So we need to continue with education and awareness for all road users. That's where our campaign comes into play, and hopefully reaching more of the demographic across Alberta. We need to continue to be more creative in our messaging with the responsibilities for all of the road users that are out there. As I mentioned earlier, we had safety comes in all shapes and sizes, whether you're on a little bike to a big bike to 18 wheels, doesn't matter. And hopefully this year we'll start seeing a downward trend. Unfortunately, this year's not off to a great start, as we have had a few fatalities already this year. So with that said, on the statistics, let's kind of get into our panel, because we have some tips from a whole bunch of people here that are going to help. So we've looked at our stats. Let's figure this out. Patti, I'm going to come to you first. What kind of tips do you have from an insurance point of view, and how can people properly set themselves up for success?
Well, in today's age where inflation is raging, everybody wants to keep their motorcycle insurance rates down. So at Klondike, we have a no classics, no problem, but what we really recommend is that the new rider takes that motorcycle safety training course prior to getting their Class 6. It starts them off immediately at a 2-star driving record, educates them how to ride the bike properly. A 2-star, of course, is a cheaper premium than a 0-star, so they're saving money on their insurance. Secondly, they can become an AMSS member, which from an insurance perspective, we partner with Peace Hills. They'll give you a 10% discount on your collision and comprehensive, which is very helpful from a price perspective. And then thirdly, the old bundle discount. If we got your bike, let us insure your home and your car, and that way we can help to lower your premiums and keep you on the road safely.
Now, insurance-wise, though, there's different levels of coverage from the bare bones to everything that would cover your gear. What would be your suggestion?
Well, it always boils down to the investment on your motorcycle. Of course, the bigger the investment, the better coverage you will require. We highly recommend insuring your accessories, and we always throw in $1,000 worth of riding gear, because what generally will happen in the event of a claim is your riding gear can be destroyed as well. So we want to make sure you're protected with that as well.
Perfect. And then when we get into a point where maybe insurance isn't enough, this is where someone like Steve Grover comes into play at Grover Law, who is possibly there to help kind of move things a little bit more further for you if insurance isn't quite covering enough. So Steve, where is it that you would step in and maybe help our riders or our listeners and viewers understand what they should know beforehand so they know when is a good time to call you?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's really important for people to get out on the road who have Class 6. I mean, I know there's been a problem with the schools, filling up during COVID years, and also testers not being around. Or if you don't have a Class 6, ride with someone who does have a Class 6. I see a lot of people on the road that just, get on their bikes and they think, hey, my brother taught me how to ride a bike, and, that's not the way to do it. Make sure you have all your insurance in place. I mean, the last thing you want to do is cause an accident and then be personally liable for an accident if you injure someone, unfortunately. And, make sure you wear the proper riding gear. Be aware of, the speed limit in all the areas you are going into. And, the rural statistic doesn't surprise me because, people tend to get out on the road and the weather's nice in the summertime. There's open spaces, and a car will pull up to a stop sign and just look around, but they won't be looking for that motorcyclist. And I've seen a lot of T-bone accidents where, unfortunately, the motorcyclist wasn't seen by the car leaving a stop sign in a rural area. I mean, it's just, big area, people look around, but they don't specifically look for a motorcycle. So I think legally wise, just if you're in an accident, protect your interests, get the information from the other party, make sure you call the police. What you say to the other party should be limited totally. And then if you're injured, get out there and go for medical treatment. I mean, obviously, your body's the most important thing in your life. Go see the doctors, go for treatment. And, if there's an issue that arises legally, I mean, our law firm's always there to help people out, even for initial consultation. It's free. So feel free to, reach out to our law firm, Grover Law Firm. We represent everybody across Alberta. But, the most important thing is for people to be safe out there. Know the legal requirements of having insurance. You have to have insurance on a motorcycle, like a car in the province of Alberta, and get the right coverage. I mean, you just don't want to be in an accident and then be personally liable for an accident maybe you caused or the other person caused. But, you just be out there to protect yourselves and be aware. Myself, when I go out riding, I just pretend I'm invisible, that no one can see me. So I'm out there looking for other cars or trucks on the road. And, accidents do happen, but they are preventable.
Perfect. And you would, along with a broker like Patti, help people navigate those hidden clauses in your insurance that you might not know about. Like Patti, for example, there's injury support.
Oh, absolutely, under your accident benefits coverage, for sure. The one that riders really get caught on is the accident when they're riding out of town, and now all of a sudden they have to get them and their motorcycle home. So really important to discuss with your broker that Bring Me Home endorsement that can, pay anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 to get you and your motorcycle home if you're a destination rider and suffer an insurance claim.
Perfect. And then again, Steve is there to help you with picking up the pieces through injury and helping make sure that you're going to get everything that you need out of that. Let's turn to the motorcycle industry. We've got 3 amazing motorcycles here to represent our safety comes in all shapes and sizes, from a Honda Grom out to a big Goldwing that I still can't believe we got into this studio very delicately. Thank you to Greg from Riverside Honda and Skidoo for bringing that in. What are some tips that you have from a motorcycle industry point of view for safety, whether it's the type of bike that you're looking at, or even gear?
Well, definitely, like you mentioned, safety comes in all shapes and sizes, and people on both ends of the spectrum seem to forget that you need to wear the gear regardless of the bike you're on. Just because you're riding a big Goldwing that has all that protection around you doesn't mean when you hit the ground it's going to be there to save you. So riding with helmet, jacket, gloves, boots, everything that's going to protect you. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the mini bikes, we see guys out there that are riding without any safety gear because they think, oh, it's just a mini bike, I'm going slow, I don't need that. So on both ends of the spectrum, we need to make sure that we always ride with the appropriate safety gear, that we are covered in the event of an accident. The other thing that we'll really talk about today is maintenance. We see a lot of people that out there, they think we don't need to worry about maintaining our bikes, tire pressure, chain tension, brakes, those things. Unfortunately, people treat it like they do their car. They kind of take it in once in a while to do an oil change and think, oh, I'm good. However, we've only got 2 tires on the ground, so that's not a lot of point of contact. So making sure that everything is checked over before you start the season. The other thing to remember is we're early season riding. We've got some really cold mornings. I'll turn to John here and he'll explain what cold tires on a pavement adhere to for traction. He'd be our expert on that, but some early morning ridings, you want to make sure that you're taking it easy, waiting for those tires to warm up. But if you're uncomfortable doing the maintenance yourself, bring it in, get it checked over, and get it ready for the season.
John, do you want to touch quickly on the cold tires?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that slips everyone's mind, you know, it's first thing in the morning. It's a great kind of bluebird morning. And, you know, the last time you rode your bike, maybe it was 20, 25 degrees out. And 6 months ago, conditions are very different. And it's something that a lot of riders, you know, like I said, forget about. And it catches them off guard. And I was just riding and then I crashed. It's usually, I don't know what happened. This is usually what comes out from a crash like that. So it's unfortunate, but definitely something riders got to keep in mind this early in the season.
Perfect. So going back to Greg here, how do you feel as a person who sells these amazing machines to people? If they're a new rider and they're coming in to get a bike, like, do you try and encourage them to maybe not get the biggest right out of the gate?
Of course, finding the right bike that fits them and their skill sets, definitely encouraging people to sign up for safety training courses and referring them that way. Getting onto something, and Honda's got a great lineup for us, which is nice. They've got a couple of 300s, some 500s that are good entry-level bikes that still have enough get up and go to go down the highway if you want. It's not like your traditional old little 250 from the 80s that you couldn't utilize. A Rebel 500 there, it's got enough that a new rider can accommodate, but an experienced rider can grow with it as well. So you're going to keep it for a couple of years. So.
Absolutely. Now switching gears over to training. Lanchi is out in Calgary at the Too Cool Motorcycle School training facility. Y'all might have heard a little bit of snicker in the background, possibly. Trevor is in the middle of teaching a course and had come up behind Lanchi to give us the peace sign. How can new riders set themselves up for success? Like, what can they expect from you guys in a course and the aftercare that might come with that, Lanchi?
I think the big one that we find is, you know, preparing for the course. Like, we provide our students with a lot of prep material, the classroom, homework and stuff before they come out, and a lot of information on things that to prepare them. And we find that the students who do go through and prepare, they set themselves up for success a lot better than those who do not. You know, like taking the time to basically focus on the learning rather than rush through it. Because there's some individuals who, oh, I'm just doing this for insurance purposes, right? So they will just come out to the course, not really fully be present, because their goal is just to get in, finish the stuff, and get out with their certificate. So I think the thing is just, you know, focus, ask all the questions, you know, get all you can from the training, and like I think that's the best way to be successful in this, right? And as they're mentioning in terms of the gear and stuff, is listen to that, is that the gear is there to protect you, right? The skills that are taught as well. So
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then going on to maybe what comes after Learn to Ride course. I mean, I was joking around the other day on one of the Facebook pages how I'd probably fall over in slow speed things because I'm a little out of practice. And so another school that we work with is T&T Motorcycling. We have Chris Bulger here. What about the more experienced riders? I mean, do we just learn to ride and stop there? Or how often should we be coming back for training? Chris?
Well, I think that's the big problem, right? That's the huge problem. People think it's easy to ride a motorcycle. They take their basic course, and then from there, they just think, this is pretty easy. I go down a straight road. Life is good. I know what I'm doing. But every time we offer an advanced course, we did total control. We've done advanced road work. We've done slow speed course this year. Everybody's always interested in it, but nobody really wants to do it. And the reason I think they don't want to do it is because they know, frankly, that they suck. Right? And they're too embarrassed to actually work on their skills. You probably see that on the track, right, as well, right? They're worried about everybody else around them, but they don't go out and practice their skills. They don't even practice good hard braking, but they somehow expect to have all this skill set when they have a problem, which is the wrong time to be practicing if I know what I'm braking, right? And I think the other thing that we're kind of missing in this whole thing, everybody talks about, rider training and to do the training all the time. But most people that we get have a license. They have a car license, they have some sort of license, and they drive their cars really bad. They don't follow the rules, and there's not enough police out there to catch them and give them a little reminder, right?
Yeah.
And if you really want to go fast, well, then that's why you have something like the track to go to. But that doesn't stop a lot of the people from just ripping down the highways, right? So when we're dealing with our students a lot, I really focus on what are you doing in your car, right? And how many rules are you breaking, or how many rules don't you even pay attention to, right? So that's kind of, so when you think advanced training, we're living in an area that's, prairies, flat, straight roads. I mean, there's really not a lot you can do for advanced training when you have a flat, straight road as far as a motorcycle goes. I don't think you'd ever have any trouble telling someone to go faster on a straight, more than it's the turns and the braking and the sighting and the scanning that you have the troubles are. So part of it is the environment for us. We just don't have the nice twisty roads or the long season of 12 months a year, right?
Right. And then those reminders that the police could give us once in a while affects insurance. And, and that causes a whole nother problem. I do agree. Like, we need to be better in our vehicles, which then would make us better on motorcycles as well. And then flip side of that, perhaps there needs to be a little bit more education in driver training about motorcyclists on the road.
Well, yeah, and you see from your stats, 66% of the people, it's like a rider error. What does that mean? To me, that means speed and probably spending too much time with your music or your GPS or talking with your friends on communication or filming something. You're not really paying attention. You are a distracted driver yourself. And new riders especially are distracted. Of course you're distracted. This is the first time you've ridden a motorcycle. You've got to use all the controls. You got to understand what's going on. You got to get used to the speed. I'm sure you see it on the track as well. Brand new guys on the track, they're totally distracted because they're trying to work out everything that you can only take so much at a time.
Well, and let's go into that, like, beyond the conventional rider training that we would do in those conventional schools. And we got Stratotech, who came on as a corporate member this year, which is great because it's a track. And, like, what all can Stratotech offer, and especially for those people that, like, need for speed? Like, that's the place to go, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest thing is a track like Stratotech provides riders with a controlled environment, I guess you could say, to develop their skills and explore the machine that they have. You can bring any kind of bike to the track and have a good time with it there and learn and develop your skills. It's a good environment with like-minded riders as well, so you get a good group of people out there. We also provide a lot of support to everyone that does come out there, so there's also even more instruction. There's support from the mechanical side of things. We've got trackside vendors as well. So it's a really great community, and it's great seeing tons of people come out every summer. And I just wish we could get the word out there even more to street riders that we're out there, we're available, and something that they should come check out.
Yeah, and there are now multiple courses for different reasons in our province, from motocross to drag strips to the road racing. And you have an event that's coming up, your season kickoff, that really celebrates the safety in all shapes and sizes. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I don't think people understand. You can take a Grom to the track.
Yeah, our season opener at Stratotech is going to kind of bring everything that we do at the track together on one day. So we'll have, for example, cars out there doing drift demos. We're going to have some time attack sessions, which is like another sort of a first step into car motorsports at the track. And then we're also going to have a couple bike groups out there, one with the racing club, and then another one with on-track performance riding is going to have a school going out there at the same time as well. And it's going to be a real good demonstration to anyone that wants to come out and check it out, what the track has to offer.
And that's on what day?
May 13th.
Perfect. I think I might be in town. Might be able to make it out there. I'm sure Greg will be out there with the Groms. But so kind of moving forward to that, we were talking about all these amazing tips from our panelists, and then there's the impact that AMSS may have on all of this as well. So as many of you are aware, in February, we were advised that the Alberta Transportation was pulling their funding for AMSS, and that made me sad. Countless individuals and organizations, from the general public up to Honda and the MMIC, which is the Motorcycle and Moped Industry Council in Canada, and everyone in between, all of those on our panel, they all stepped up and wrote letters to the Minister of Transportation about this decision. And we are very happy to update that we received a phone call shortly after the letter started asking to resubmit our proposal on March 1st. We were happy to do so. At this time, I am actually really quite happy to let you know that we received a notice from Minister Drishin's office on April 27th that we have been approved and will be receiving our funding for the 2023 campaign. I know, we just found out about this a couple days ago, and it is fantastic, and I'm very, very excited that that is going to definitely help us moving forward. We were a little concerned for a moment, but I want to wish the minister well in the upcoming month or so, thank them for their support and continued support, and wish that they would have been available, that Minister Drishin would have been available to come on the show, but it was a very, very quick turnaround, and they're very busy. They have a big day tomorrow. There's something coming up in a few weeks. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, there's an election coming. So anyway, this is great news for us, and we'll be able to continue everything that we're doing. But with that said, I'm going to throw it back to the panel, and we're going to go through one by one. How do you see the impact of AMSS in our industry, and how might that change if, by chance, we weren't able to continue? Patti, I'd like to start with you.
Well, safety awareness is huge, and when there's safety awareness, there's the better rider, and when there's the better rider, then there's less claims. And in the insurance industry, of course, it operates on a loss ratio, dollars in for insurance premiums, dollar out for claims, and the fewer the claims, the cheaper the rates, and then we avoid rate increases, which nobody likes. So as long as we focus on safety awareness for that rider, I truly believe it will keep the insurance industry, from a motorcycle perspective, flat. We don't want rate increases.
Yeah, well, I don't think any of us want rate increases. Steve, from a legal perspective, how do you see the AMSS impacting what you do, and how can that help?
Well, the reason why we came involved with your organization, which is a great organization, is, obviously, we are law firm, we do personal injury, but the main focus we focus on is safety, safety in driving a car or riding a motorcycle or even driving an 18-wheeler. We don't want to see these accidents out in the street. I know, unfortunately, I've seen enough people in my office who were not at fault for in a motorcycle accident. It's been having a changing effect on their lives. Unfortunately, their lives have been changed around 360 degrees, and fortunately, our office is there to help our clients rebuild their lives. And unfortunately, I don't want to see these people in my office, and I don't want to see any other people. I ride myself, and I would not want to be in a serious accident where I've had to reconstructive surgery on my right knee. So AMS is a good organization. They're important for public safety to put out. The most important thing is we all want to ride, but we all want to come home in one piece, and we want to enjoy the ride. I mean, obviously, we all want to ride hard, but ride safe. And, your health is the most important thing. And I think AMS is a very important part of Alberta motorcycle safety in this province. And I'm happy to hear that you got your funding for 2023. And, we're going to be behind your organization 110% going forward, from here on in also.
Thank you very much for that. And I can actually safely say that Steve is somebody who would much rather nobody be in his office, but he is there to support you in case that you do need that extra little bit of legal perspective in the event of a collision or an incident. Greg, what does AMSS mean to Riverside? And I mean, you guys have been with us since the beginning, above and beyond all the time, just like Grover, Klondike, well, everybody here. What does that mean, that partnership mean to you guys?
I think one of the big things is there are resources out there. You can see the panel here is the resources for the industry, but the AMSS really brings those resources to the forefront and says, this is safety, here are the ways that you can get it. So the partnership that Riverside has with the AMSS has gone back for a long time, and we see the promotion and the awareness bringing customers into our store because of this promotion and awareness, because they understand that we're a partner for you guys, and it's really helped the industry grow in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and we do like to be that collaborative thing where maybe somebody comes to us with a question and we don't pretend to be the experts by any stretch. As you can see by our panel, we have the experts and we have the people that we can reach out to on your behalf and get you those credible answers and put those people together. Going into the training aspect, I'll go to Lanchi first and then Chris second. I mean, you guys have also been with us since the beginning, both of these schools, one in Calgary, one in Edmonton, and we do work with another. But Lanchi, to you, what's that partnership with AMSS like?
It's been great. Like I mean, for us, we've always been about safety, right? That's the reason why we do what we do. And, it's tough to get the word out there, like just for us to do it. So it's nice that, there is you guys to help us with that, because as I always say, like, you don't know what you don't know until you know. And unfortunately, when it comes to motorcycling, it's quite often tragic. The things that, if people don't know, it can affect in that negative way, right? So in terms of training and stuff. So it's nice to, that you guys are there to spread the word about safety and how to keep riders safer, with the information that you have, like as you were saying with the patent thing. So
thank you. Chris, do you want to add to that from an educational perspective?
Well, we know safety is not sexy, right? So we know that part for sure. Nobody wants to, but nobody wants to go see the personal injury lawyer. Nobody wants to go see the insurance broker and go see the dealer. And the dealer says, well, you can't get that bike for another year, all because, you had a problem. So, I mean, what your organization does is it helps get the word out more and more. Like, think about what you're doing, think about the risks, take part in the discussion, reach out for some help, bring new people into the industry, right? All that stuff is, obviously just makes us all much better all the way around, right?
I love that you say safety's not sexy, because it's something that I've said over and over again about the AMSS and how we garner support. Prevention of injuries or collisions and stuff doesn't seem to be the sexy side of things, but and trust when I say organizations like One Broken Biker, they need to exist. There is always going to be a need for that. And Ashley and I joke about this, or well, I do anyway, and hopefully she takes it in a fun way, but I always say I want to put them out of business. And I know that's never going to be a reality because life happens. But we need to start looking at prevention as a sexy theme as well, because like we want people like One Broken Biker to be able to help less people with more money, if that makes sense, instead of more people with less money. And the way to do that is through prevention and awareness and safety. Now, bringing on our first track, so to speak, that partnership I feel is going to help take things to the next level. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've taken the data and the information that AMSS has collected and used it recently with, working with governments, especially through COVID, to get basically racetracks open again. The information that you guys provided was, indispensable in that. And then also with development permits and, growing and expanding the track like we're always trying to do. When we have information that the AMSS puts out there, we can take it and put it to good use to further develop the track. It's been a fantastic partnership that way.
And we're going to do so much more, and I'm excited for that. So as I mentioned at the top of our show, our theme for this year is safety comes in all shapes and sizes. We have once again been working with our friends over at Stingray and their Acuity program to create some great programmatic marketing that will be showing up on your devices soon. You may have seen them on the side of each of the stage. We will also have PSAs running on stations throughout the province of Alberta with updated messaging to include this year's theme. We will add to this by placing paid boosted posts on our social media and to continue to reach people across all of Alberta. We've had some great success with our first attempt at putting those annoying skip-proof ads on YouTube, so we're going to bring those back again. And if you are streaming on YouTube, you may just happen to see one of our same commute, different risk and our tips for riders PSAs showing there. Thank you to all of the Alberta media for once again stepping up to air PSAs through the province. Always grateful for their continued generosity and partnerships in safety and awareness. So now let's talk a little bit about For the Love of Motorcycles. We had an amazing inaugural event in 2022 that we're excited to bring this back on June 24th this year at Blackjack's. Some of the things to expect include many vendors of all kinds, including a bunch of these people on the stage, from nonprofits to clothing, accessories, to track folks, to even the Cinnamon Princess. And if you've never had these cinnamon buns, trust this is a reason to come out. We will have entertainment, activities for the kids, show and shine returns, exhibit displays, and so much more. This year, we're raising money for ourselves at the AMSS, as well as the Tree of Hope Charitable Society, which is an organization that gives back to countless charities throughout the Edmonton area. We want to give a special shout out to our major sponsors for this event, which include K97 and Blackjack's Roadhouse. The amount that they both put in to help with our success is immeasurable. Finally, again, June 24th, Blackjack's Roadhouse in Nisku from 10 till 3. More info can be found on our website, ab-amss.org. So, as I mentioned at the start of the show, launching tomorrow in conjunction with Motorcycle Awareness Month is our Think Bike 50/50 cash raffle. This 50/50 will help support the creation of our educational content in the 2023-2024 season. The winner could take home up to $10,000. All of the information and rules about this can be found on our contest page of our website, found under About Us. It's also right on the main page as well, in case you need to find it there. Per the rules, I must note this 50/50 carries a license number AGLC 640302. Big thank you to Rafflebox for being our provider for these contests. And that brings us to the end of our kickoff show. We're looking forward to this year where we can get out and see people. We'll be at Two Wheels Sunday on June 4th in Calgary. And of course, you don't want to miss out on the second annual For the Love of Motorcycles, 10 to 3, June 24th at Blackjack's Roadhouse in Nisku. We were going to be at the Cars for a Cause, but the dates got a little mixed up, and now, unfortunately, we will not be there. However, I encourage you to check out Cars for a Cause in Edmonton on June 11th and Calgary June 17th. We will also be at the Ride to Reynolds in August. It's going to be a super busy but fantastic summer. I want to thank all of our corporate members, whether they're with us today or not, And a huge thank you to Production World, as always, for hosting us at this world-class facility with their world-class team. This is Liane reminding you to ride smart, ride safe, and think bike, and we will see you out on the road. Thank you, everybody.
That was good.
Now we-